Welcome. It's good to see you guys. This is Joyce from Mystic Soul Insights, and I'm happy to have you here. Mystic Soul Insights, it's a fairly new channel, and here we are going to uncover the profound wisdom of astrology, seek guidance from the tarot, and maybe tap into healing energies of Reiki and massage therapy. Today I'm going to be delineating a chart for a friend of mine, a new friend of mine, and I'll be showing you her astrology chart. I'll lead you around all the houses. There's 12 houses in the astrology chart, and I will be delineating her planets that are in her chart, and also the angles of the planets. And then I'll be doing some esoteric readings on certain points in her chart. So that's what we plan on doing today. There's a lot of sacred connections in the universe and the natural world. And my deepest desire is to unlock your inner gifts, just as I've spent a lifetime discovering mine. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to Anastasia Paveloff, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm Anastasia. It's such a pleasure to be here. Incidentally, my name translates to resurrection, and that's been partly my calling in life. I work through dream and deep imagination in order to help folks who are transitioning in a death process and also just simply in their life process, because death isn't simply about dropping the body and moving on. In that regard, it's actually also about little moments in our life where we've experienced loss or grief, and we wish to reconcile that and to find a way to resurrect unto ourselves in this lifetime, in the here and now. And oftentimes that can visit us through dream, but also through art and creativity. And there are ways to approach it where we have levity and joy and so much more to offer the world that's expansive and not just simply sort of in the shadow or in the darkness. It's also the light. It's always a both and. It's the yin with the yang, and I try and help folks to feel that in a way where there's balance and and exuberance, not just the grief and the loss that we have that's so commonplace in the world, in our lives, and of course at large. So thank you so much.
Wow. It's wonderful that you're here on this earth right now with me, and you're here to help people connect with their inner guides for when they're grieving. I know all about that. I've been there. It's a process. Well, today we're going to be looking at your astrology chart.
Excited.
So yeah, and I know that Anastasia is she's delved into a little bit of astrology, so some of this is going to be something that she already knows about, but we'll go through the whole chart and do a simple analysis, and then we'll have take questions and whatnot when we're done. Okay, here is your chart. Okay, so this is Anastasia's chart, and as you can see, um, can you see my marker?
I can see your marker. Yeah.
Okay. As I'm going through here, we'll start right here. Right here where it says AC, this is this is her first house. And this is where the AC is where the sun was rising at the moment that she was born. So when she was born, the sun was rising at 11 degrees of Scorpio. And on either side of this line, which is the horizon where the sun is rising, you can see that down below, that's the glyph for Uranus, and it was still below the horizon. So was her sun. Her sun had not yet come up. And on top of that, in her 12th house, is her Venus. That's the glyph for Venus, and she has Venus at 10 Scorpio. So right now you can see that once again I have someone that's got a lot of Scorpio in their chart, and Scorpios are very interesting people. They're very deep, mostly psychic. Usually they have something to do with the underworld, but they're also creative. And they like to delve deep into what they do, but that doesn't mean they don't have fun. And so maybe a fun thing for a Scorpio to do would be to sit down with a good book and about maybe, some kind of psychology or something and start reading. Or it might be if they were interested in astrology, and they might sit down with a good astrology book and find out more about their inner workings. That's, they also like to have some time alone, as everybody does. But sometimes that time alone is necessary for them to rest and recuperate. So anyway, she has this conjunction of her sun, of her Venus, the ascendant, and Uranus, and then comes her sun. It's Anastasia has got her sun at 27 degrees in her first house, which means she has a very big personality. Her sun lights up her first house, and that is her personality. This is really who she is. Um, I've got things dinging at me here. As we go along, this is who she is. She's really a Scorpio, this girl. So the ruler of Scorpio is what? The ruler of Scorpio is Pluto and Mars. Mars is up on top. So it's got a double ruler. The ancient ruler is Mars, and the newer ruler is Pluto. And Pluto, we find Pluto is in her 11th house, and it's in Libra. The ruler of Libra's ruler is Venus. We come back down, and here is Venus, and it's in Scorpio. So when I go around and around, the ruler of her chart is Scorpio. It's Pluto. It's and Pluto's in Libra. The ruler of Libra is Venus. Venus is in Scorpio. It all comes back. So when I look at this, I say, this girl is really a Scorpio. I also look to see how many planets she has in fire signs. And oh, by the way, Scorpio is a water sign. I go to look and I say, oh, well, so her ruler is Scorpio. That's her ruler is Pluto. And, I go around and I think, well, what is she really, a Scorpio? And yes, she is. When I looked at that, Scorpio is a fixed water sign. And she has a lot of fixed planets in her chart, including Mars. I will count Chiron, her sun, Venus, Uranus. And so that tells me right there, those are fixed. And I look over here at the water sign. She's got Jupiter in a water sign, Sun, Venus, Uranus, and the moon. So that means that she is a fixed water sign. That's what she feels like, and that's what she is. So it comes right out. This girl is a Scorpio. Would you agree with that?
I'm the most quintessential Scorpio I know. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so as we go along, so that's her personality, who she is, what she presents to the world, how she feels about herself, probably a little bit too. And now we're going to go to the second house. And in her second house, she has Mercury, and it's conjunct Neptune. So what does that tell me? Well, Neptune is about seeing things. It's like looking through a glass of water at things. It distorts things a little bit, but it's also about delving deep. It's like looking through a glass or a mirror that you can see through. It's deep diving. It's a deep diver, that Neptune. It likes to get beneath the surface. Well, she's got her Mercury there as well, and it's at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. So 13 degrees of Sagittarius and 5 degrees of Sagittarius. She has these two planets conjunct. And so when I looked at this, my first impression was I thought, this girl, her thought processes are deep. When she thinks about things, she goes right to the deep part of it, whatever that happens to be. And she can go probably deeper than a lot of us. Because why? Well, because you've got Sagittarius there, which is a fire sign, makes you excited about going deeper. It also, a Sagittarius is the archer. He likes to go beyond. He likes to shoot for the stars. He likes to go for it. And why is she going for the depths? Because of Neptune being there. So I wouldn't call this girl superficial. And this is probably one of the ways that she would make her money in this life, in this lifetime. Her third house is at Capricorn. And as a combination, it starts off with Capricorn and it has Aquarius in it as well. And that's your sign of your brothers and sisters, your early childhood education. It was probably kind of strict. You probably had a lot of rules. And right there, it doesn't show a lot, but that doesn't mean that you don't have brothers and sisters. It just means that whatever was happening as you were growing up, it was very directed, rather strict and orderly, but humanitarian as well. In your fourth house, which is your deepest house, this is where you are at your core. It shows your house growing up, your birth house, your house where you're growing up, and where you live now. And you've got your moon in the fourth house. Your moon is in Pisces in it's in a water sign. And it's a very sensitive point in your chart. It starts off with being kind of a house where everyone, there was some humanitarian aspect. There was a giving, but it might have been kind of cold, not a really warm house, kind of a colder atmosphere at your house. Things were kind of expected. And then there was also the aspect of being kind of emotional at your house. There was emotions all the time. And your little moon picked up on that. And that's who you are. Deep down, I think you would be a humanitarian, and you would really care, the emotional caring about other people. In your fifth house, you have Pisces, starts off with Pisces and goes to Aries. So you probably like to do some sports for fun, with Aries there and Mars being the ruler of Aries. And you also probably, I would imagine, did you like to swim?
I used to adore swimming, had a lot of ear infections and ended up transitioning into other sports, and then played indoor women's volleyball in college, and was going to transition to pro or Olympics, but had a lot of injuries. So I transitioned a bit to powerlifting, and then eventually yoga is my sport, if you will.
Oh, yeah, I'll count that as a sport.
Absolutely.
It's an activity and it's physical.
Yes.
And I would think that you would need to let out some physical. It would have to be a very physical house.
Yeah.
So other than that, I'm going to keep going because I've got so much more I want to delve into in your chart today.
Thank you.
Okay, your sixth house starts with Aries, and it goes into Taurus. And in that house, this is your house of everyday activities, people you see every day. When you were going to school, it would be the other students at school, not necessarily your best friends, but people that you knew, people that you did things with, your teachers. It would be people on your team, because you have that Aries in there as well. People that you were doing sports with every day, your everyday activities, but it's also your sign, your house of health. And so in there, you've got Aries and you have got Taurus. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, you've also got, you've got those two signs in there. And what do you have in there? You have Chiron, and Chiron is the wounded healer. So this is the house. When you find Chiron in this house, your Chiron is at 2 Taurus, And it is being in your 6th house. I would suppose that you have some kind of a hurt that maybe has to do with with your head. Well, I thought head a little bit because of Aries and Mars, and that rules the head, and maybe with your neck. Maybe you had some kind of injury with your neck, or maybe with speaking. Although I didn't notice anything now, but in the maybe in the wound that you carried with you had to do with something in your neck.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I'm just guessing, and we'll go back and I'll read the esoteric meaning of that Chiron as well. But so anyway, that is your house of health, and in there you have Chiron. So, the wounded healer, not only did you have a wound that you carried with you to this lifetime, but it also shows where you can help other people. And so I'm looking at this thinking, well, maybe that's one of the things. Maybe you can help people with speaking up for themselves, finding their true identity of some sort, and connecting with their inner Venus, maybe. Their it could be a little bit too their masculinity. So maybe it's both, male and female, whatever it is that they are, connecting with that and learning how to express that. That's just my best answer to that.
Yeah.
Now, on your 7th house is fairly vacant of planets right there, but it is ruled by Taurus, and it has a little bit of Gemini in it. This is your house of partnerships. It would be marriages. It could be a business partner. It's also your house of open enemies. They're not hiding from you. They're right there. You can see who they are. Could be your partner. Could be someone that you work with every day. And I would say that's kind of lovely. You've got Taurus. You might have partners that have a lot of money, because Taurus is assigned to values. And getting back here, I also, in your 2nd house, I didn't talk about your values much, but I think that you value the deep. I think you value people that are, you have know a lot of successful people. And this is a really good sign for success as well. Anyway, so getting back to your 7th house. That's your house of open enemies. I don't know what else to say about that, but it's kind of nice to know who they are, because then you can try to get along with them. Yeah. In your 8th house, now this house is Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, and also in that house you have you also have Cancer, and you have your Jupiter in Cancer. Now, Jupiter is the great beneficent. It expands whatever it touches. And it is the most, it's really very positive. But being in the eighth house, I thought, oh my, the 8th house is, well, sex, death, and taxes. That's what they like to say. There's more to it than that, but those are the main 3 things. And I saw that and I thought, man, she's got Jupiter in her house of death. Maybe this is where I don't know. I mean, I didn't know anything about you at the time, and I thought, she's really connected in that house. She expands what's ever in there. And it's a watery Jupiter. So I went back and I thought, oh my gosh, so there is her Jupiter up there. And that's what, the ruler of Sagittarius. Oh, so I'm thinking, wow, okay. That's where it is. So she could probably make money. Maybe I didn't know what she did. I thought, well, maybe she could be maybe she is a mortician. And I thought, why I thought that? is because you had Scorpio rising, and Scorpio is also the sign of surgeons and like
Yeah.
not only getting to the deep, but opening things up and getting in there. And I thought, oh, maybe she, you know, that's what I thought. And it turns out that no, but she is a death doula. And so that probably is how she's expressing that. Let's go on to your ninth house. Your ninth house is all about your secondary education. It's about foreigners. It's about other people's money. Oh, and I also forgot to say about this Jupiter, I thought for sure she's probably going to get some kind of inheritance, money from other people. Okay, so now your ninth house. This is not necessarily money from other people, but I did say that, which one I was like, no, that's what I meant to say about this one. In your ninth house, you have your part of fortune and you have Mars, and they're both in Leo. And I was so happy about having a Mars in Leo. I was also happy about the fire signs that you have down in your second house. And I was like, yes, this girl's got fire, and Mars being almost on her midheaven. Whatever she is, she's going to go with it. She's going to go with gusto. Got a lot of energy for her education, for her future professions. And, she's got a lot of energy. And that's the Mars is in Leo, and Leo rules the sun. Looking back, and I went, okay, so I went back to it, her sun being in Scorpio, and thought, okay, so she's got that Leo kind of light. It lights up. Leo, the sun is okay. She's lighting up. This is lighting up her 10th house. And I thought, whatever she does in a big way. Okay. She might be, I thought, well, maybe because I did know where you lived, I thought, well, maybe she's involved with the film industry because she'd really like to be the star of whatever she does.
Yeah. Tell my agent.
She likes to be the star, and she likes to be on stage, whatever stage that happens to be, which might be having to do with something. And I thought, okay, so maybe she owns a mortuary. That's what I was thinking. Maybe she owns something, or maybe she's some kind of an investment banker, where we take our money, we put our money into things so that it'll grow, so that so that when we die, we'll have a lot of money to give away to other people or something. I don't know. This is my train of thought. And you have to, yeah, it is funny. This is how I think. So I'm going, okay, so she's really exuberant. She really puts a lot of energy into things, preparing herself for her eventual career. Then I went, okay, so she's got a career. Is it going to be with Hollywood? And I thought, well, maybe she's got Saturn in there but Saturn isn't in Leo. Saturn's at a baby degree. It's at 0 degrees Virgo. And I thought, well, whatever she does, she's going to be very organized. She's going to work on her organization. She's going to have everything all, maybe, accounting wise. She's going to be in charge of other people. She's going to be telling people what to do. And I thought, well, okay, so you're going to put a lot of energy into all this. Well, whatever it is, she's going to be in charge, and she's going to be very detailed. Very detailed. And I hope she doesn't have OCD. That's one of the things I thought. When she gets to work, whatever it is her profession is, I hope that it's just not too terrible, because Saturn's the task master, and he likes to let you know what you're doing is right, or if you're on the right path. And if you're not, he'll tell you to get going. Um, in her 11th house, she has Virgo and also Libra. And in that 11th house, she has her North Node. And the North Node is a point on your chart where the ecliptic is. So that is the point where the sun, if it was to be there, would be eclipsed. But okay. And it's very important because the North Node is about what we came here to do.
Mm.
So I'll be doing an esoteric reading on that, but it is in Libra. And I thought, well, she's here to balance something out, probably. Maybe Libra is ruled by Venus as well as Taurus, but Libra is ruled by Venus, and it's lovely. It's I'm not exactly sure. And then I saw Pluto there, and they're basically conjunct. So she's got Pluto, the ruler of her chart. She's got Pluto, and it's conjunct her North Node. So I thought, whatever it is that she's here for, boy, it's going to be, maybe she's going to come up with something brand new, her own creation of something. And it's going to have to do with balancing, helping people balance their lives, or maybe balancing the heaven, what's above us and what's below us.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, I can't read to read the esoteric meaning behind those two signs. So, but anyway, she'll probably have some friends, and they're probably going to be very Plutonian, and they're going to be people that like to talk about really deep things. And I thought, well, I think Anastasia is here to shake things up. And then I guess she'll shake them up, and then she's going to balance them out and put them back together.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so now we go to her 12th house, and this is your house of self-undoing. It's also the house of your subconscious, your unconscious, and also the cosmic consciousness. And so here we might find things that are detrimental to ourselves, or that some things might be a little difficult to go through. But whatever it is, it's going to start off pretty balanced, and it's going to end up being very deep. And so in her 12th house, she just has Venus. And I thought, oh man, Venus is there. Oh boy. Whatever it is, this girl is, the 12th house is naturally ruled by Pisces. Okay. The natural ruler of the 12th house is Pisces, and the ruler of Pisces is Neptune. So I went back and I looked, okay, so here's Neptune. Okay, I still have not quite sure what that Venus is about, but it is conjunct her ascendant. So possibly it has nothing to do really with her 12th house. Maybe it's about coming out of her 12th house. Maybe it's about her, or maybe it's about things are moving into her 12th house for her to love. And you'll be surprised. I had to look that one up right away. And so I've got that one. And then we're back to her ascendant. Now, not only did I look at that, but I also look at the chart and how it's laid out. Now, if I use Chiron, it's not exactly a bucket. But if I don't use Chiron, and I do, to have a bucket, I have to have an opposition. So I looked at this and I thought, okay, starting here and going around, if I go around to the planets, all the planets that are here, she does sort of have a bucket chart. And in that case, if it really is a true bucket, and I think it could be, I don't see an opposition between the outer planets here, but I do see an opposition about the middle planet, and it goes to her moon. So the handle for her bucket would be her moon. And I would think that whether she knows it or not, she is always bouncing whatever decisions that she makes, whatever is going on here in this bucket. It's a little bit bigger bucket than some people have. Some people they'll have so many planets just lined up one another, and you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I can count 6. but the other ones are kind of over here on the other side. So I thought, well, she's still doing it. She's going to be bouncing any big decisions that she makes about who she is, how she makes her money, what she's going to do for her profession, and where she goes to school. She's going to be bouncing that off that very sensitive Pisces moon down here in her fourth house, where her core is. So I don't know. We'll go on with that, but that's kind of what I see about your chart. As well as this Pisces moon down here. We didn't talk about that too much, but I was looking at this and I was thinking, oh, she's probably kind of got a house that's between, kind of an eclectic kind of house. But when I talked about being kind of cold and being kind of watery, and I thought, well, in her house, I was thinking that what I would see in her house would be blues and greens. And I don't know if you have a lot of blue and green in there.
Over that way.
On that way? Okay. But I would see blues and greens, but there would also be some of that Aquarian in there as well. And that could be, when I think about Aquarius, the silvers, maybe, things like that. Okay, let's go on and let's look at the formations. Well, now she had her own chart drawn up. In her own chart, she had this grand trine, so she's known about this. She's got this important grand trine in here, and this is very easy energy. It starts with her ascendant, and on her ascendant are her Venus and her Uranus. It goes up to her Jupiter in her 8th house, and back down to her moon in the 4th house. And those watery energies, it goes from Scorpio to Cancer and back down to Pisces. She knows, she's very in touch with what she's feeling. In fact, she probably has a little bit of trouble separating what she's feeling. It all goes through that anyway, right? So you're always checking in with that moon. It's always about how you're feeling. And so if you're feeling good, everything's good. And this is a very easy energy from this expansive Jupiter. It just goes around and around and around. And in the chart she had drawn up for herself, she didn't use Chiron. And I'm going to go ahead and use Chiron in my chart analysis of you. So I'm looking at this, and if you look at it, she has got a grand trine. Her moon, though, is sextile Chiron, and her Jupiter is sextile Chiron. Now, a trine is really easy energy. You don't have to work at it. It just goes around and around. But a sextile, you have to put some work into it. And I think that's what you've been doing. I think you've been putting some work into that Chiron, finding out what you can do to help others and how you can try to heal that wound that you have, or use that knowledge of that wound to help others. And so when we do that, guess what we have? We have a kite. And so that kite here is the Chiron is directly in opposition with her first house. So when things are in opposition, you can really see the other side. Like that Chiron can see that Venus conjunct ascendant conjunct Uranus. You can see that. You see that about yourself. You know that about yourself. And on the opposite direction, those three things that we have here, Venus, ascendant, and Chiron, you can really see. If you look hard enough, you can see that hurt over there. And I thought, oh, well, maybe she was lacking in some material things at some point in her life. Maybe she wasn't. It was something was withheld from her, and maybe they didn't have a lot of money when she was growing up. Not sure. But then I looked in her second house and I thought, well, and not exactly. Maybe she didn't have everything that she needed, but she probably had enough of what she needed. Okay. Well, and I look on this, I go, okay, so here's this nice kite formation. So you do have a kite. And if you can hit the tail of that kite goes from your Venus, your ascendant, and Uranus. And that's what's going to, you learn about that. You set those things free. You do the work that you need to do with Chiron, and you'll be setting yourself up. You'll be setting yourself free. You'll be able to fly. You'll be up there with the stars. You'll be directing that kite. You'll be able to find success that way. It's a very successful thing. It's very successful. So, with Jupiter being in that trine and the moon, and all those things, I just think that you are who you are. Some people might have thought that you were a little bit strange when you were a child.
And now.
But don't let that bother you, because it's part of what we like about you. It's part of what people like about you. Venus is very close to that. They like it when you get deep, even though you don't want to get too deep with some people, but you know what I mean. It's there. So I hope you can set that kite free. Now, looking around, I also like to see those trines and those sextiles, because that's such good energy. But you do know that a conjunction, when you have things that are conjunct, it's kind of a hard aspect, and it takes a lot of work, more work than you might think. You have this big aspect here, this hard conjunct, and you also have, this is a hard conjunct as well. And this is a hard conjunct as well. So my dear, I hate to say, but you're probably going to have to work hard. You're going to have to overcome a lot of things in your life, and just stick to it. It's worth it. It's going to be worth it, because the major one is going to be this one right here that's across your ascendant. And if you can work with that, you're going to fly. Okay. So yeah, I looked around, and the other things that are kind of hard aspects are these squares, but they're not as hard as some of the conjunctions, and the oppositions are kind of hard sometimes too, but they don't have to be hard. Just remember that when you have an opposition in your chart, it gives you a clear view from one to the other and back. You're able to see that. You know about it. The same with these squares. If you didn't have squares in your chart, those squares are there to kick you in the butt a little bit and get you moving. And if you thought you're just going to relax, it's kind of like me. I thought I was just going to retire and relax. I was so hoping that was what was going to be. I had a little bit of that, but guess what? I got kicked in the butt. So I'm back to working on my own chart, on my squares, doing my second thing, my other life here, my second life away from the pool. And I think it's interesting that the last 3 people that I've done charts for are just Scorpios, or full of Scorpios, or full of water. It's been very interesting. Very interesting. And I thought, oh my gosh, they've all got buckets. Their buckets are full. They're full of things, and they got big Scorpio things going on, or big Cancer things going on. It's like, oh my gosh, as a little Taurus, even though I do have I have a full 12th house, I'm telling you, I don't know. It's Earth. So I'm looking around here and I'm thinking, well, thank goodness she does have a couple planets in her Earth, in her Earth signs over here. She has Chiron, if you can count it as a planet. It's a sort of a planet, and Saturn. So my girl, you lack Earth, but you do have a pretty major earthy planet, even though it's at a baby degree. That's kind of babyish, it's at 0 degrees. Just don't have any tantrums.
Don't more of a tantrum at this morning, okay?
And if you do, get right up and dust yourself off. It's okay. And I thought it was interesting. You've got Saturn and you've got Chiron, and those are your 2 Earth signs. And boy, Earth is not all that bad. I'm telling you, I'm an earthy kind of girl, but you might need to go out there and get your feet in the dirt.
Yeah.
And get out into nature more.
Yeah.
That would be helpful. For me, I had lacked water. I only had one planet. It was Uranus. I had Uranus in Cancer, and I spent my entire life at the pool. If I went to one pool, I had to go to another pool. Spent a lot of time there. So I guess this next part, I'm going to spend a lot of time with all these watery, sensitive people that want to get their charts done. And the next time I do a chart, I'm going to be doing someone I know, my daughter-in-law, and she's a Pisces. So it's like, okay, well, maybe those Taurans that are out there, those Aries, they don't want to, they don't need their chart done right now. So I'm looking at the squares. Your squares are from, of course, your big conjunction here up to another conjunction, of sorts. And this one is not as hard. The conjunction of your part of fortune and your Mars. Your part of fortune is where you're going to find your fortune. And you got Mars there helping it along, giving it a lot of energy. So I don't think you're going to have too much. All right. Okay. Well, did you want to get? Oh, she wants me to wrap it up. I do want to give you some information about your North Node. And in your North Node, you're having a North Node in Libra. The things that you want to develop are cooperation, diplomacy and tact, increasing awareness of others' needs, selflessness, giving support without expecting reciprocity, creating win-win situations for people, sharing, seeing things through another's eyes, and communicating self-identity. The things you want to leave behind in this life: impulsiveness, thoughtless self-assertion, lack of awareness of others' needs for support, self-centeredness, selfishness, lack of good judgment regarding money, expecting others to be like oneself, because not everybody's as deep as you are, I'm sure you've figured that one out. Indifference to how one is seen by others. I think you figured that one out as well. Outbursts of anger and over concern with survival. Yeah, you might sometimes take it a little bit overboard, huh? Maybe. And so the Achilles heel in a Libra North Node is to be aware of selfishness. My survival depends on, for example, looking out for myself first, and others should make sure my needs are met regardless of anyone else's concerns. You want to avoid that. That's the Achilles heel. If you have those kind of hurt feelings, remember, it's just your North Node telling you that it's time to go look beyond that. It's time to go beyond. You make the talents and professions for these people: fantastic counselors, diplomats, peacemakers, because you have the gift of clearly seeing and successfully communicating the identity and concerns of a person A to a person B, and vice versa. And it prompts mutual understanding and fairness. Also, it says fields of beauty and art. You make great entertainers, public speakers, which I think you'd be a great public speaker.
Yeah.
And you're extremely gifted, both materially and personally. And I think you're really, really gifted. I looked at that and thought, is this girl a genius?
No, thank you. Maybe.
I'm serious. Because I saw Mercury with Neptune in your second house conjunct, and then I thought, oh my gosh. And then there's, looking right up there, the higher octave of Mercury is Uranus. And Uranus is about genius and unusual, new creations and things that we have never heard of. It's also about all those other things. Now, as far as your Venus, I'm going to give you that one. I know Debbie says wrap it up, but I got one more thing I want to talk about.
Thank you.
And it's kind of gosh, where's my paper? I write on papers and then I throw them away. What am I doing? Okay, so for your Venus, I'm going to look up 11 Scorpio. And this is the image I want you to get into your head. Because these are, it's from Dane Rudgar, an astrological mandala, the cycle of transformation and its 360 symbolic phases. And it's the America I Ching. And so what they did is he went with a psychic to a park in San Francisco. He held up every degree of the zodiac, and she had an image. And he wrote it on there, and it made a book. And so this was it. So 11 Scorpio is individual and mental. It's a third level thing. And this is what I want you to imagine. A drowning man is being rescued. The keynote is the deep concern of the social group for the safety of individuals. And this symbol should be interpreted as revealing the basic feeling of relationship between the individual and his fellow man. This is an expression of a relationship rather than the experience of the person who carelessly perhaps ventured too far in his depth and was given a second chance to live. A man risks his life to save another man. This is love based on a sense of responsibility produced by a vivid sense of interrelatedness. Sustained by this love, the individual may be more secure in venturing forth, but this assurance can also lead to unwarranted daring and trust. So this picture concerns the social whole for any one of its parts, and even it's not merely a spontaneous act of rescue. That's not all it's concerned about, but it's performed by a chance bystander. So the key word is humanitarianism. Those displayed has deep cultural roots. So looking at this, it tells me that, you're very humanitarian. You have this humanitarianism. You love everybody. You would go run out there and serve someone, rescue someone that you don't even know. But also in my mind, I see that Venus wants to rescue people. That's what you're here for. That Venus came here to rescue people. And as far as when there were some things that we talked about, is that, you don't just need to rescue them. That's not what all your Venus is about. You're going to find someone, I think, that you don't need to rescue. Maybe they'll be there for you, and they'll provide you with things that you don't have. Maybe they're here to not rescue you. Maybe you're here to find the interconnectedness and promote humanitarianism. That could be it. All right, well, there's more, but we've kind of run out of time. I hope this was helpful. I know that you knew this about yourself, but it's always nice to have somebody else tell you. And there is more, but just remember that those hard conjunctions that you have, you're gonna be able to work through them. Two of them are gonna help each other. The ones in the Mars and the part of Fortune, and your Mercury and your Neptune, there's easy flow between those two. just keep exchanging information between and feelings and giving. One will give others, will see something and go back. I'm going to look at your part of fortune, which is at 3 Leo. And part of fortune, I'm going to look up 4 Leo because we have to move it up a little bit because it's not 4 period. And this was a formally dressed elderly man sits near trophies he brought back from a hunting expedition. So this is your part of fortune. The masculine will to conquer his animal nature and to impress his peers with his skill in performing the ancient traditional power rituals. Yes. So you've got these hunter's trophies. I don't know what that I wanted to read that for you.
Thank you.
But really what this is all about, it's like, the rituals, the human nature, his basic human nature upon the scar-filled sky. It's not just as logical to say that the universe projects its own forever evolving patterns of order upon human nature. In either case, we deal with the archetypical factors which endure through a long series of generations. So this is generational as well.
Yeah.
And the key word here is permanence. Permanence. The unchanging patterns of star groups are opposed to the sequence of ever-changing fashions and social ideals. So your keyword here is permanence, the family background, doing the rituals that you need to experience. And it's also, when I looked at other things, I saw that there was a lot of psychic things in your chart. So with that being said, go out there and have a wonderful day. Been nice. Did you have any questions or anything that you wanted to ask me before we go?
That was so extraordinary, and it sort of emotionally, speaking of water, overwhelmed me, especially at the end, because I've had to rescue a lot of folks, and that's what I've been in service to. A lot of folks who have passed away, like my father and my brother. I gave up my life, in a sense, my fertility. I'm no longer capable of having children, in part because I was caring for my father for years until he passed, and there, as his sort of confidant and almost like a brother with whom I'd have beers at the bar, though it was just talks for years with my dad living with him. But I've been struggling with the idea of how I can be in partnership with somebody in a romantic way and in a life way that isn't just me being of service and almost giving away my power, though it's also my pleasure, it's my gift. But I love to love, and there's so much darkness and death, in a sense, in death and in the death space. And yet, as I said earlier, when you introduced me, there's life and light. And I yearn, there's so much emotion, I yearn for levity and love and to be loved. And it was so hard to hear that sort of vacancy with regard to Venus, like you mentioned. So yeah, that was sort of my, I guess, question is, where's the love for me? That's hard to
Yes.
say, but thank you.
Where's the love for you? You've had to learn how to love yourself and other people, but I see that you could. There is love for you. There's something that's going to happen, and I did do your transits, but we don't have time to do that right now. And we could talk about that later. One of the things I did see is that moon in your 4th house is all about your mother. So
Yeah,
a lot of that, what I read about, is about
yeah.
your mother. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that it's like, yeah, your mother had a big thing doing with that, and she was Saturn. She opposed that Saturn. Very interesting energies there. So anyway, there is hope.
Well, yeah, I'm
I
entering the
didn't
second
mean to
half of
turn
my
that
life.
on. I didn't mean to turn that on. I was trying to.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And don't forget to like and subscribe our channel, and maybe how can we contact you?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, so my YouTube channel is at the Sacred Spheres, and that's also my Gmail, the Sacred Spheres at gmail.com. That's also my Instagram at the Sacred Spheres, and you can find links to some of the art that I've done and some of the singing and intuitive photography and time in nature, incidentally, because it is so important for me to be grounded. Yes. um, yeah, so yeah, again, I'm Anastasia Paveloff, and I'm happy to talk to anyone who has any questions about anything that's been discussed or what.
You could go ahead and put your channel in the chat for people that are here right now.
Yeah.
You did it. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Debbie. Appreciate you. And likewise, yeah, the sacred spheres at gmail.com. If you need to shoot me an email, I love to write. I love words. So
Oh, well, I really had a great time with you here today. Thanks for coming on.
oh, my absolute pleasure. You've really touched my heart, and I feel like I can cry happy tears. They feel very cathartic and very beautiful.
Well, we'll
Thank you.
talk again, I'm sure. Maybe when I get better at different things, I'll do a solar arc
I love that. Thank you for your tender, beautiful
interpretation.
soul and how grounded you are. I love this Taurian energy. So my closest friends also have been Tauruses to keep me grounded. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
Well, thank you for being a part of Mystic Soul Insights. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and remember the cosmos within you is waiting to be unveiled. Bye-bye.